Once upon a time the Reverend Marcus Leake visited an old bookshop in the High Street. After slowly perusing the dusty wooden shelves in the fiction section, he selected and purchased a book of strange short stories. He took the small book back to his house in Glen Close, poured himself a cup of coffee along with some custard cream biscuits on a tray and settled it on a small table beside his large, well-worn but very comfortable armchair. The Reverend loved reading short stories. His favorite was about a goldfish that couldn't swim. You may have read it. He sat down and began to read his new book. Page by page, story by story. The Reverend absorbed every word and became more engrossed with every line, slurping coffee and spilling biscuit crumbs over his jumper as he did so. Nearly 2 hours had passed and the Reverend began reading the final story in the collection. It was a strange story about a Reverend who, like himself, had purchased a book of short stories, and Reverend Leake was fascinated to see how the story developed, what happened next, and, most importantly, how it would end. But suddenly, and quite unexpectedly, there was a problem. Just as he thought he was nearing the end of the story, he turned the page to find it completely blank. Oh no, he thought. How very strange. Even for a strange story, this was very strange. Surely there had been some mistake. How was he ever going to find out how the story ended? He rose from his chair, quickly put on his coat and, clutching the small book in his hand, left his house and hurried back to the old bookshop.
"Excuse me,"
he called to the old, brown-suited, bookshop owner.
"Yes, can I help you?"
he asked croakily, carefully inserting a bookmark into his own book on fly fishing, and closing it.
"About this book on short stories."
"Yes, sir." "What about it?"
"One of the stories is a bit short."
"Well, sir, it is a book of short stories. That often happens in such books. The clue is in the title."
No, you don't understand.